How many of you right now are going through your hands? Wait for audience reaction. Now, how many of you ever felt like giving up? But something inside you said, keep going this. Life isn't going to ask for your permission before it punches you in the gut. Hey, it doesn't knock politely and say, here's a guy for a crisis. No, it shows up. You uninvited, unexpected, and unapologetic. And when life gets hard, most people get fold. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to shrink. You don't have to surrender. You were built for this. Let's go deep when life hits hard. And it will. Your first hit's down. You feel heavy, tired, unmotivated. The weight of your problems makes you feel through emotional quicksand. You know what I'm talking about. It's that moment when you're lying in bed, scrolling aimlessly on your phone, knowing hung's due but feeling absolutely paralyzed. Or when you're at work and everything feels flat. Your energy, your focus, your joy, you want to snap out of it, but you just shift needs to happen, not later. Now. Because here's the truth, your emotions are driven by motion. Your stoic and even mental zone is not something that just happens to you. It's something you create. You have more control than you've been toy behooved. Most people live reactively, not creatively. But the moment you realize you can change your state in seconds, your entire life opens up. So how to do, have you ever had a morning where everything went wrong? You woke up late, spilled your coffee, argued with someone you love, and it wasn't the events themselves, it was the state those events put you in. And what did you do next? Probably drag that negative state with anything you did. You carried that anger, that stress, that frustration to work into your thoughts, into your conversations. And things just kept together up the pattern. You didn't change your state. Now imagine if you had. Imagine if maybe that exact moment when you fuming and you thinking deeper into frustration, you did something radical. You jumped up. You put on your favorite song and dance. You did 20 push-ups. You went outside and shouted, let's go, at the top of your lungs. You forced yourself into a different phase of breathing. You stood taller, breathed deeper, moved faster. Sounds silly, maybe, but it works. Why does it work? Because your mind and body are one system. Body influences what happens in your brain. Slouched shoulders, shallow breathing, slow movements. Those create deep roots with purpose. When you breathe with energy, when you shift your physical state, your emotions follow. It's like flipping a switch. The body texts you they're not in survival mode anymore. We're in action mode. Let's take another real life example. You've had a long day. You look down and it's someone important, maybe a potential client, your boss, someone you respect. Suddenly, not even thinking about it, your voice strata. You answer with a smile and energy you didn't even know you had left. That's changing your state. Instantly, naturally, powerfully. You didn't wait your way into feeling better. Most people wait for inspiration. They say things like, I'll go to the gym when I feel motivated to come first. Action comes, motivation follows. If you want to stay positive when life gets tough, you can't afford to sit around hoping you'll have to decide to change it. You have to disrupt the pattern. And here's the good news. You can train this like a muscle. The more you practice change your state, the faster and easier it becomes. You'll start noticing the signals earlier. The heaviness in your chest, the tension in your jaw, the slump of your paw. Instead of letting it take over, you'll interrupt it. You'll breathe. You'll smile. You'll speak with power, even when energy in seconds. Some people think this is just hype-help fluff. But go talk to athlete CEOs, performers, Navy SEALs, anyone who level under pressure. They all know the secret. State is everything. If you're in the wrong state, you'll make bad decisions. You'll miss opportunities, and you can walk into chaos with calm. You can step into challenges with confidence. You can smile in the storm. Changing with spending everything's okay. It means refusing to give your power away. It means recognizing that no matter what's happening outside you, up. And when you show up differently, the world responds differently. So next time you feel stuck, get up. Shake off the funk. Shake off love, your arms raise to the sky. In place. Clap your hands. Blast your favorite song. Speak affirmations out loud. Shout your goals like you mean it. Because the 30 seconds of your state, you can control your hour. If you can control your hour, you control your day. And if you can control your day, you can your state. Fast. Because the storm isn't waiting for you to feel ready. and neither is your breakthrough. Maybe your life is not controlled by why, the meaning you give to what happens. Read that again, because this is where people either stay stunpable when life gets tough, and it always will. It's not just the situation that crushes people. It's the story they tell themselves about it every day. Something happens. Someone leaves you on read. You get rejected from a job. A relationship ends. You lose money. You fail at something. These are facts, but that will shape your emotional state. It's the narrative you attach to them that determines whether you spiral or rise. Let me give you a real life example to a breakup. The first person says, "See, I'm unlovable. I always mess things up. I'll never find someone who understands me." It drains their energy. They stop showing up for themselves. They fall into depression. The second person goes through the sassy. "That relationship taught me what I value. It showed me what I will never settle for again." This pain is fuel to become the version, attract the right partner. Same event, different story. Like, what story are you telling yourself right now? Are you telling yourself that was too late, that it's too late, that your best days are behind you? Are you telling yourself you're not smart enough, strong enough, not lucky enough? Because let me theory is a script, and the more you repeat it, the more it becomes your identity. Your identity becomes your decisions, and your decisions shape your defluff. This is psychology. This is psychology. Neuroscience proves that your brain builds pathways based on repeated thoughts. So if you keep feeding your brain the same pains, a mental groove, like a track, and your thoughts start to travel down the path automatically. But the moment you interrupt that throw and say, "What else could this mean?" you break the cycle. You shift your focus. You take the pen back. Let me ask you, if someone handed you a book about you proudly, or would you want to rewrite a few chapters? Guess what? You still can. Right now. Because no matter how bad the last page was, you don't have to keep reliving old pain. You don't have to stay stuck in stories of shame, regret, or failure. That's not your truth. It's just a verse to believe. You want to stay positive when life gets tough. You have to become the editor of your inner dialogue. Instead of saying, "I failed," and say, "I'm broken," say, "I'm rebuilding." Instead of, "This is the end," say, "This is the beginning of something better." You're richer. Your self-talk is not background noise. It's the GPS of your future. Here's something to consider. What if the worst thing ever happened? That will unlock your greatness. What if the divorce, the betrayal, the job loss, the rock bottom moment was actual? We'll never see it that way. You keep replaying the victim version of the story. You have to flip the narrative. Don't say, "This happened to me." Say, "Hey, this happened," even if you don't believe it yet. Say it. Speak it until you feel it. Because what you speak becomes what you seek. Another example. Let's talk about fair. You give it your all. You don't get it. Now, you could say, "I'm just not good enough. But I'm just on my door. My door's still coming. That opportunity wasn't aligned. And now I'm stronger, sharper, and more prepared for what is mine." A meaning, empowered story. And here's the wild part. When you change your story, your energy changes. People feel it. Maybe that way your life starts responding to you in different opportunities. You attract different people. You walk into rooms differently because when you control the narration of you, the atmosphere. And I want to remind you of some inspiring people on this planet are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who took pain and turned it in purpose, who had every reason to quit, but rewrote their story and kept going. That power is inside you too. You're not weak. You're not fragile. You've just to the wrong voice for too long. You don't need someone to come save you. You just need to remember that you're the author. Your pen still has ink. So today, decide what story will I no longer tell? What meaning will I no longer accept? New narrative will I live from? Because once you shift your story, you shift your life. Not someday. Your mind is your most powerful weapon. And the difference between the two comes down to one thing: what you feed it. Every single day, your brain is being bombarded. You wake and before your feet even hit the ground, you've scrolled through bad news, fake lives, and fear-based content. You're consuming negativity before you yourself, and then you wonder why you feel anxious, unmotivated, or lost. It's not a mystery. It's a result. You feed your mind, becomes your own. Let's be real. You wouldn't eat rotten food and expect to feel healthy. You wouldn't fill your car with sugar and expect it to drive. But every day people fill their minds with junk. Drama, gossip, distractions, fear. And expect to live with clarity, power, and peace. It doesn't work like Desitiv. When life gets hard, then your mental diet matters more than ever. You need to feed your mind like a warrior preparing for battle, because when life hits you, and it will, you need more than just good vibes. You need mental conditioning. Take a look at your routine. When you wake up more, or does your phone own you? One of the most powerful ways feed your mind is how you start the day. Before the world gets access to your old filth, read something uplifting. Listen to a powerful podcast. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Speak your goals out loud. That does not just... Strategic reinforcement. Here's a daily life example. Let's say you're facing financial pressure. Bills are piling up. You feel over-panicked. They shut down. They say things like, I'm broke, or I'll never get ahead. And then they scroll social media and see can't afford or vacationing in a place they'll never go, and the negativity just multiplies. But what if instead, in that exact moment, you fed your mind, if you read 3 chapters of a book on financial growth? What if you listened to a story of abundance? What if you fed your mind evidence that this isn't the end? It's just the beginning. You would feel different. You would feel something. You would act different. And that's the key. You feed your mind isn't just creating action, because action is what changes things. When your mind is full of doubt, fear, and failure, your actions shrink. But when your mind in perspective, your actions expand. This is why high performers obsess over their input. They don't leave their mindset to chance. They reflect, they study, they get around other minds that stretch them. They curate what they allow in. It's not discipline. It's servo. You're the keeper of your mental real estate. If it doesn't build, you don't let it in. If it doesn't align with your purpose, levers your unders, your mind doesn't just visit. It builds a home. And eventually, that home becomes your default thought system. Let's look at another example. Maybe you go on breakup. You feel abandoned, rejected, unloved. That's heavy. It's real. But what you feed your mind, and that more than that pain becomes poison. Or power. You could wallow in sad songs and social media stalking, feeding the heartbreak. Or you could listen to content, emotional mastery. You could read stories of people who turned hardtack into their breakthrough. You could flood your mind with new definitions and self-respect. You could build yourself better. That's not ignoring the pain. That's directing it. The mind is like a muscle. What you train, fear grows. If you train faith, faith grows. And every piece of information you consume is a rep. So ask yourself, are you building to be life to be easier to get serious about your mind? It's in the hard seasons that mental training matters most. When you feel low, lost, and powerless, and you need strong input, that's when you need to say, I'm not going to feed my weakness. Turn off the noise. Turn on growth. Study people who've overcome what you're going through. Read books that remind you of yours to ignite your fire, not your fear. Maybe that was story. And let's be clear, this isn't about being everything's perfect. It's about taking ownership of the one thing no one can take from you, your mindset. Life can steal your time, your money, steal your power unless you give it away. And you give it away when you stop fearing you through. So choose today to become intentional. Choose to consume inspiration, wisdom, perspective. Choose to feed your mind like a warrior, because life are won or lost in the mind long before they ever show up in the world. What you put in is what you'll live out. So feed it well, feed it strong, feed it till your weapons on it, because it does. When life knocks you down, and let's not pretend it won't, it's easy to lose yourself in the chaos. The pain can be so consuming that you start to forget who you are and why you ever believed you could do something meaningful in the first place. But here's the secret that separates people who stay stuck from people who rise. They find something bigger than their pain to live for, a mission, a purpose. A buoy why so powerful that even the darkest day can't shut it down. Pain is heavy, but purpose is heavier. And when your purpose outweighs your pain, you don't just survive, you rise. Think of it like this. Every single person on this planet is carrying something: loss, rejection, failure, disappointment. But the ones who move forward, who build empires from rubble, who inspire others even while they're bleeding inside, they all have something in common. They've connected their life to something greater than themselves. They've locked onto a mission. Let me bring this home with a real life example. Imagine a mother working 2 jobs, barely sleeping, constantly exhausted, Her body aches. Her mind is running in 100 directions. But every morning she gets up and does it again. Why? Because she's not just working for a paycheck. She's working to give her children a future. Her love for them is bigger than her fatigue. Her vision for their lives is more powerful than her pain. That's what mission does. It gives your suffering meaning. When you don't have a mission, pain feels pointless. You start asking questions like, why me? Or what's the point? That's when you spiral. That's when anxiety creeps in, when depression takes hold, when you feel like giving up. But the moment you shift your focus from what you're going through to what you're fighting for, everything changes. Because let's face it, motivation fades, discipline helps. But nothing drives a human being like purpose. A mission pulls you out of bed when you'd rather hide under the covers. It pushes you through the days when everything feels like it's fallen apart. It gives you something to pour your pain into. Here's the truth, your pain has power, but only if you give it direction. If you let it sit idle, it will rot. It will eat away at you. But if you take that pain and channel it into something greater, into helping others, building something, creating change, it transforms. It stops being a weight and becomes a weapon. Think about the people who inspire you most, the ones who made an impact on the world, the ones who overcame insane odds and still chose to rise. Were their lives easy? No. They were filled with hardship, but they used their pain as fuel. They turned their wounds into wisdom. They stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what now? You can do the same. You just have to find the mission that makes the pain worth it. If you want to know where your life is headed, take the people around you, not the ones you wave at in the hallway or like posts from on Instagram, but the ones who speak into your life. You're here when your energy is low. The ones who influence your mindset, your emotions, your confidence, whether you realize it. Unity is contagious. Positivity is contagious, but so is negativity, so is mediocrity, so is doubt. When life gets tough, the people around you will either heal to you to quit. And the difference between staying stuck and rising stronger often comes down to this. Are you surrounded by fire or smoke? It's not. Smoke are the people who say they care, but they feed your fear. They validate your excuses. They agree with your limitations. It's too hard. It's too hard. Maybe you should just stop. Or that dream sounds great, but be realistic. Smoke smothers a chance to burn. It clouds your vision, dulls your passion, and keeps you in the same cycle of struggle. But fire ignites you. Fire shows up in people who grow. They don't let you wallow in self-pity. They don't coddle your comfort zone. They see your potential. Even when you're burned, speak truth into your fear. They tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. They say, you've got more in you. When you reread about a time you were going through something tough. Maybe you lost a job, went through a breakup, failed at something big. Do they remind you who you are or reinforce how broken you felt? Because that's the difference between some you back and someone who helps you rise. Let's be honest, people live in survival mode. They're stuck in routines, stuck in fear, stuck in cycles of blame. They don't push, they don't grow. And if you're not careful, their mindset becomes yours. It's like crabs in a bucket. You've heard the analogy, one crab turns, pull it back down, not because they hate the crab, but because escape isn't normal. Growth isn't familiar, so they drag it back to their level. That happens in real life too. The moment you start reaching higher, there will be people, sometimes even back. Not a malice, but because your ambition threatens their comfort. And that's when you have to deciding, do I shrink to stay acceptable or do I rise your own new circle? You need to get around people who expand you. People who talk about vision, goals, impact. People who aren't afraid to be honest when you're new. People who've been through fire themselves and are now carrying a torch instead of a wound. That's the power of community. Here's two people trying to get in shape. One is surrounded by people who say, let's skip the gym and hit a happy hour. Be more, cheat day won't kill you. The other is surrounded by people who say, let's hit a workout together, or I meal want some. Guess who's more likely to succeed? Not because one is more disciplined, because one has fire and environment. Your in will either reinforce your weakness or activate your strength. And it's not just about cheerleaders. Who reflect back to you who you're becoming, who call you out when you're slipping, who asks you, is this version of you aligned with, yes, men, you need truth tellers, you need champions, you need warriors, but let's also be real. Sometimes to find fire, you have to walk away from it. It's hard to let go of old friends who no longer align with your vision. It's hard to pull away from the familiar, but growth is uncomfortable. Expansion requires disruption, and if you're serious about building life, you can't afford to stay in circles that drain your soul. This doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you love yourself enough to precatory. You give less access to the voices that keep you small, and more access to the ones that call you higher. And if you don't have fire in your life, go communities, go to events, listen to powerful voice, study people who are doing what you want to do. Surround yourself, even virtually, with people who show you what's possible. Because the truth is, when you're surrounded by fire, even the hardest seasons don't destroy. So your circle, like your life, depends on it, because it does. Let the fire sharpen your focus, fuel your faith, and remind you that you are never alone. The right mind wouldn't just walk with you through the storm. They hand you the torch and say, let's light the way. Life is not controlled by your circumstances. It's controlled by your focus. And your focus is shaped every single day by the questions you ask yourself. When life gets tough, most people ask the wrong questions. They get stuck in cycles of doubt, fear, and victimhood. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Will things ever get better? These questions sound innocent, but they are powerful, and not in a good way. They trigger negative emotions. They pull you into helplessness. They make your mind search for evidence that supports limitation instead of possibility. Here's the truth: most people never realize your brain is a search engine. Whatever you type into it, it will find an answer for. If you ask, why am I such a failure? Your mind will start listing every mistake you've ever made. If you ask, why does nobody love me? Your mind will dig into your insecurities and bring up moments of rejection. Not because it wants to hurt you, but because it's doing exactly what it's programmed to do: answer the question you gave it. But what if you flipped the script? What if you stopped asking questions that break you and started asking questions that build you? Imagine going through a setback. You've just been laid off from your job. The natural response might be panic, fear, even shame. Most people ask, what's wrong with me? Or how will I survive this? But someone who understands the power of better questions asks, what is this trying to teach me? How can I turn this into an opportunity? Same event, completely different focus, and that different focus creates a completely different future. Let's look at a daily life example. You're having a rough day, you're overwhelmed, behind on deadlines, and everything seems to be going wrong. You spill coffee on your shirt, miss a call, get stuck in traffic. You could ask, why does everything always go wrong for me? And guess what? Your mind will go into full victim mode. But what if you paused and asked instead, what's one thing I can control right now to shift my energy? That one question snaps you out of helplessness and into power. It gives you your agency back. Because asking better questions doesn't mean pretending life isn't hard. It means refusing to give your power away to a bad moment, a bad day, or even a bad season. It means training your mind to find meaning, solutions, and growth. Heat in the fire. Here's another powerful example. Think of someone who's been through real pain, loss, betrayal. They could easily spend the rest of their lives asking, why did this happen to me? And truthfully, they may never get a satisfying answer. But the people who heal, who grow, they eventually ask, how can I use this to help someone else? That question alone has created authors, speakers, mentors, nonprofits, and movements. That one question has transformed suffering into significance. Questions are not small things. They are steering wheels. They guide your direction. If your life feels off course, it's not just your habits, it's your internal dialogue. You're asking the wrong questions. It's taking you to the wrong destination. Let's go deeper with this. Think of a time when you were procrastinating. You knew what you had to do, but you couldn't bring yourself to start. Most people ask, why can't I stay focused? Or what's wrong with me? Again, disempowering questions. But if you ask, what small step can I take right now to get momentum? Your brain goes into solution mode. You stop analyzing your flaws and start taking action. It's not magic, it's focus. And here's the beautiful part. You can train this. You can build a daily habit of asking better questions. You can literally rewire your thinking patterns by shifting the questions you live by. Start your morning with questions like, am I grateful for today? What am I excited to create today? Who can I encourage or serve today? And when the pressure hits, when life gets messy, ask, what is this teaching me? How can I grow from this? What does this challenge make possible for me? These aren't just mental tricks, these are spiritual tools. They allow you to rise above the emotion and into awareness. They pull you out of the pit and into perspective. Let's end with one final story. A man named Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust, one of the darkest, most brutal periods in human history. He lost everything. But in the middle of that suffering, he asked a different question. What meaning can I create from this pain? That question became the foundation of his book, Man's Search for Meaning, which has changed millions of lives, including mine, including maybe yours. That's the power of a better question. So the next time you're tempted to ask, why me? Pause and ask, what now? Ask, what's next? Ask, what is this teaching me about who I'm becoming? Because the quality of your life will always match the quality of the questions you ask. Ask low-level questions, level answers. Ask better questions. Life will open in ways you never imagined. Life will knock you down. That's not a maybe. It's not a agree. The storm is coming whether you're ready or not. Setbacks are part of the journey. May they show up when you least expect them. Like a punch-in gut you didn't see coming. What separates the people who raise stronger isn't what happens to them. It's what they do with what happens. The most unstoppable on the planet people will never fall. They're the ones who learn how to turn setbacks into setups. We all love the idea of the comeback story. We cheer for the underdog in movies. We cheer about rising from the ashes. But when it's your life that's falling apart, when you're the one lying face down the meant to feel like a setup, it feels like failure. Like you've lost something you can't get back. But what if that setback wasn't the end? What exact place your next breakthrough was meant to be born? Let's make it real. Imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. Savings are tight. It feels like a punch to the identity. They could spiral, fall into doubt, fear, depression, and many people do. But what if they chose diary? What if they asked, what is this forcing me to see? Maybe that job was comfortable but unfulfilling. Maybe they've had a dream buried inside is the push they needed to finally chase it. Maybe the layoff wasn't a death sentence. It was a redirection. That's how setups begin, not with aunts, not with comfort, but with clarity. Your greatest growth will often come wrapped in pain. It won't look like a gift, but if you're willing to look deeper, if you rouse yourself what this moment is building in you, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. Think about any major turning your point in life. That's your change for you. I'll bet it came after something wrong. A heartbreak failure, a betrayal, a mistake. You didn't rise in the easy seas in the rubble. That's what setbacks, dog. They strip away the illusion of safety and force you to build something real. Let's take a simple daily life example. You got goals, structure, momentum, but suddenly your car breaks down. You miss a critical meeting. You feel behind. That setback could ruin your mood, your focus. What could ask? Can I gain here? Maybe that delay gave you an unexpected moment to reflect. Maybe missing that meeting saved you occasion. Maybe you meet someone repair shop who opens a new door. When you're living from a place of awareness, you begin to understand that life is happening for you. And when you believe that, setbacks become tools. They stop being weights and start being weapons. And I get it, some setbacks are massive ones beneath your feet. A failed marriage, a diagnosis, the death of someone you love. These are not small things. They bring real grief, real questions. They're in the darkest spaces. The human spirit has the capacity to rise, not by pretending it didn't hurt, not by rushing to be positive. Pain, purpose. I know a man who lost his teenage daughter in a tragic accident. For months, he was paralyzed by the grief. But eventually, he decided her life would not just be memory. It would be a mission. He created a foundation, her name for young girls across the country. His heart still aches, but his pain became fuel. The setback became a setup for impact. That's what you're capable of too. You might be going through a season that makes no sense right now. A storm that feels like it's never going to end, but just because you can't see the setup doesn't mean it isn't happening. Life is always positioning you, always preparing you, always pushing you. Sometimes key, next version yourself. The key is not to fight the fall. The key is to fall forward. Because here's the real truth you were never mirrored same. Setbacks are how life breaks the parts of you that can't carry your next level. They don't destroy you. They refine you. They introduce you to clearer vision and a version of you that can handle the dream you said you wanted. So if you're in the middle of a setback, breathe deep and remind yourself this isn't a breakdown. It's a setup for the comeback, a setup for the breakthrough, a setup for there's no longer scared, no longer stuck. Pain is real, but so is purpose. And you're not done yet. Your story doesn't end with the fall. It begins with the rise. When life gets hard, when it knocks the wind out of your lungs and makes you question everything, It's easy to focus on everything that's going wrong. It's how our minds are wired. The human brain is naturally designed to detect danger, avoid risk, and zoom in on problems. It's a survival mechanism. If all you ever see is the pain, the lack, the stress, you'll miss the power. You'll miss the beauty. You'll miss the life that's still happening for you, even in the middle of the chaos. That's where daily gratitude becomes not just a feel-good habit, but a lifeline. Gratitude is not about pretending things are perfect. It's not about ignoring your problems or living in denial. It's about choosing to focus on what's still good, still working, still beautiful, especially when nothing else makes sense. It's about waking up and saying, yes, I'm going through something, but I'm still breathing. I still have today. I still have another shot. Gratitude is perspective, and perspective is power. Let me make this real for you. Picture someone going through a tough season. Maybe they've lost their job, their confidence is shaky, and everything feels uncertain. They wake up and their first thought is, I can't believe this is my life. They go through the day dragging a weight of frustration and disappointment. Every small problem feels like a mountain. Every setback confirms their inner fear that they're failing. That's one way to live. And sadly, it's how many people go through life. But now imagine the same person. Same situation, still unemployed, still uncertain. But every morning they start the day by writing down 3 things they're grateful for. Simple things. I have a roof over my head. I had coffee this morning. My friend called to check in. These small moments become their anchor. Their nervous system begins to calm. Their mood begins to lift. Their energy shifts. And slowly that shift gives them the emotional stamina to apply for one more job, make one more call, keep showing up. Maybe their circumstances change overnight. No, but their state changed, and that changed everything. Gratitude is not passive. It's active. It's a practice. It's a discipline. It's not just for good days. It's especially for the bad ones. On your darkest days, the act of gratitude becomes a declaration. I will not be defined by what I lack. I will stand firm in what I still have. Let me tell you a story. There's a woman who was battling cancer. The treatments were brutal. The fatigue was overwhelming. Her body was weak and the future was uncertain, but every day she'd sit by the window and write in her journal, I'm grateful for the warmth of the sun. I'm grateful I tasted food today. I'm grateful for my nurse's smile. That journal didn't cure her cancer, but it gave her life while she fought it. It gave her hope. It gave her moments of peace in the middle, and guess what? She made it through, not just physically, but emotionally. And today, she helps others do the same. That's the power of daily gratitude. It's not about the big wins. It's about noticing the small ones. It's about training your mind to see what's right instead of obsessing over what's wrong. You see, your focus is a filter. If you wake up every day and focus on what's missing, your brain will filter the world through lack, through fear, through disappointment. But if you start your day focused on what you do have, on what's still working, on what you've already overcome, your brain will start filtering life through abundance, through hope, through strength. And that doesn't just change your mood, it changes your biology. Science backs this up. People who practice daily gratitude experience lower levels of stress, improved immune function, better sleep, and stronger relationships. Why? Because gratitude rewires your brain to experience more joy, even when your situation hasn't changed yet. So how do you start? Simple. Every morning or every night, take 5 minutes. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. And don't just go through the motions. Feel it. Really take a moment to appreciate the good. Maybe it's a text from a friend. Maybe it's the sound of your child laughing. Maybe it's the fact that you're still here, fighting, breathing, trying. That matters, and here's the truth. The more you practice gratitude, the more you find to be grateful for. It becomes a cycle. You start seeing beauty in the ordinary. You start celebrating progress instead of only focusing on perfection. You start appreciating your journey, even if it's messy. Because gratitude is not about having everything. It's about noticing everything you already have. The storm might not pass today, but you still have the ability to dance in the rain. You still have the choice to say, even now, even here, I choose to see the light. That's what gratitude gives you: perspective when everything feels dark, peace when everything feels loud, power when you feel powerless. So don't wait for the perfect day to be grateful. Be grateful. Watch how your days start to feel a little more perfect, even when they're not. Especially when they're not. Because gratitude doesn't change your circumstances overnight. It does change you, and when you change, everything else begins to follow.